Hey everybody, I want to give you a little update on our timing and what we're looking at with these thunderstorm chances as we head into Friday night. As the cold front moves in and sparks these thunderstorms and then a change in the weather pattern by the weekend, I want to start by showing you our in-house model on the timing on this. Friday during the day will be fine. Friday night early is okay. It'll be later Friday night. We'll start to see a line of storms developing well west of this area. We'll stop this for you at around, say, 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern time, and we start to see the first line of thunderstorms pushing into the western portion of Illinois, probably nearing our western counties sometime between midnight and 2 a.m. and still packing a pretty good punch. Now they will probably weaken a little bit as they move through, but still we got some strong storms even showing up at around 3 to 3:30 in the morning, crossing the state line, and then eventually kind of clearing the area by 6 to 7 a.m. So most of this is going to be during the deep overnight hours, Friday night into Saturday morning. The front's going to stall south, so we'll probably see a few leftover showers early Saturday, but then notice we may have a few more thunderstorms Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. The bigger risk of severe weather on Saturday, though, will be south and southeast of this area, but we can't rule out still some leftover showers even as we get into the day Saturday, which could also include a few thunderstorms. So we want to go over the risk areas put out by the Storm Prediction Center. What you're looking at here, the red shaded area would be the level of moderate, which is the next to highest level you can go. That's our western counties. The brown shaded area, which is much of our viewing area, is the enhanced risk. And then the eastern areas, the yellow shade, would be the slight risk. The reason for this, we believe the storms will be kind of in a somewhat weakening fashion as they go from west to east across the area, meaning the storm should be stronger in our western counties and a little bit weaker by the time they hit, say, Greencastle, Bloomington, the Indianapolis area as it gets later into the overnight, and they will tend to weaken. Now we can show you the individual risk. Damaging wind still looks like the biggest issue for us. When we put the hatched marks on there, that means an increased risk of maybe some stronger winds. Technically 58 miles per hour or greater would be considered severe. When we show the hatched lines, we could see some wind gusts that could hit 75 miles per hour. So there's an increased risk of more significant wind with this system. There is a chance of some hail, but right now the hatched area, which is the larger hail, is off to the west and southwest of here. But there is a chance we could get some hail in these, but the wind risk is higher. And a lot of people have been asking about the tornado risk, and there is a risk. We do have a risk of some tornadoes. Right now, the highest risk is in our western and southwestern counties, and the hatched areas here does indicate there is a chance there could be a couple of the stronger tornadoes in there. Right now, the chances are better the farther west you go, but we can't rule out there could be some tornadoes associated with this system as it moves through. So that's what we look at with the risk factors. Now, I wanted to show you when we come back to the slight, the moderate, and the enhanced areas that we have. Here's what those mean. Basically, there's 5 levels from marginal to high. We are looking at slight in our eastern areas, enhanced in the center portion of the area, and moderate, which is a level 4 in our western counties. And you can kind of see what this means as far as the number of thunderstorms, and then over on the far side underneath definitions, what these types of risk areas mean for this area. So moderate is a pretty significant upgrade for us. Again, that's in our western counties. So just kind of picture this and you get an idea. Basically, that the higher that number, 2, 3s, and 4s, the more significant the severe weather event is expected to be. And right now, much of our area is under a 3 or a 4 as we head into Friday night. I've had a few people ask about, could this be something called a derecho? And some of you may remember we had a derecho came through here a couple years ago with 80 mile per hour winds and widespread power outages. Well, derechos are most likely in May, June, and July. They're more of a summer type system. As you can see the numbers there. The odds of a derecho in March are very low. Only about 4% of them ever happen in March. It's unlikely we would see a widespread wind event that we would actually call a derecho. So right now, the odds are pretty low that we would be talking about something called a derecho, but we do believe that wind is going to be the biggest issue. So let's talk about the timing. Again, I would say starting in our western counties, maybe as early as 10 o'clock Eastern, give or take, and then ending in some of the eastern areas, maybe 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. But 10 p to 5 a is the time that we're looking at. And then I also wanted to kind of summarize by showing you this. Yes, we do anticipate the chance of some severe weather on Friday night after it gets dark. The biggest concern still continues to be wind with these, although we can't rule out some hail and we can't rule out the possibility of some tornadoes. This looks more typical of what we refer to in meteorological terms as a QLCS, and that stands for a quasi-linear convective system. Basically, it works like a squall line. You have basically kind of a line of thunderstorms that come through. Those typically produce wind, but you can sometimes have little individual areas along that line that could spin up a tornado. Generally, those are weaker, they don't last as long, and they're smaller if they're along that line. Now, one thing that we will have to watch for, if we see any discrete cells develop in advance of that line, those aren't really fighting the environment to get the energy, so those pose a little higher risk of a tornado, or a higher risk maybe of a more significant tornado. So as we watch this line come through on Friday night, early Saturday morning, we'll be watching the line, but I'm also going to be watching to see if we see any of these individual cells in advance of the line and pay very close attention to those, because that increases our chance maybe of a stronger tornado in those. Right now, though, we think this is going to be more confined to a line coming through, more typical of like a squall line with wind as it comes through the area. But that's kind of what we're looking at time-wise and basically the setup for the system. I do want to tell you that coming up later tonight on our Facebook pages, mine and the TV station's Facebook page, we'll be doing a live stream. A lot of folks have been asking about that. I'll be answering questions, and I'll have the latest evening model runs for you, and we'll go into great detail on what we're anticipating with this system. So again, later tonight, check that out on Facebook. We will have a live stream, and I'll take questions for people and answer those tonight as well.